So today I want to talk about the massive importance that Evan Williams has been to this Packers defense and sort of show you how this defense has been night and day, whether Evan Williams is playing on the field or not. And we really got a good idea of this last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And watching the game, I could tell the second Evan Williams went out, the Packers defense started to struggle at a whole different level. And I went back today to try to figure out the last play he played in that game. And the final play that Evan Williams was in against the Jaguars, there was 2 minutes and 37 seconds left in the second quarter. That was when his final play was when the Jaguars scored their first touchdown of the game. So through the first quarter and almost the entire second quarter, the Jaguars put up one touchdown with Evan Williams on the field. After he left the game, the Jaguars put up 20 points. When Evan Williams was on the field, they went punt, interception, punt, touchdown. And then without Evan Williams, the Jaguars went field goal, punt, touchdown, fumble, punt, field goal, touchdown. So on 4 of 7 drives without Evan Williams, the Jaguars scored. On only 1 of 5 drives with Evan Williams, the Jaguars did not score. And so it's good and bad because obviously when Evan Williams is playing, this Packers defense looks like a elite defense. When he was off the field, they sort of came down to a middle of the road to slightly below average looking defense. And considering he got that hamstring injury, you sort of hope that that injury doesn't sort of stay with him the next few weeks and that he hopefully doesn't injure himself, further on in the future. And it sounds like he should be good. It's not a long-term thing. That's what came out from Aaron Nagler. But there is still some uncertainty with him playing in this Sunday's game, big game against the Detroit Lions. And I think that when you look at Brian Gutekunst, I talked about him a lot yesterday, sometimes the Packers miss on first-round picks. And, sometimes it takes first-round picks a long time to really get going. I don't think Lucas Van Ness has really lived up to a first-round pick yet. Not to say he can't going into year 3, year 4, but so far he hasn't really played at a first-round pick level. Jordan Morgan, this year's first-round pick, has barely played, has dealt with a lot of injuries, has played okay at guard in his limited amount of opportunities. But you can basically fix everything when you hit on a guy like Evan Williams in round 4. And the fact that he's been able to come in, and since he started playing a lot of snaps back in week 5, he played he was starting, he played 78 snaps versus the Rams. From weeks 2 to 4, he only played in 34 snaps. And I think that from that Rams game on, we really saw this defense get to another level. And I think it's mostly because of how well Evan Williams has played. And so Brian Gutekunst found a gem in the 4th round, a guy who, the way he's playing, should have been a first-rounder, at least right now. And so when we look at what happens when Evan Williams leaves the field, Javon Bullard, Packers' second-round safety, goes from playing in the slot to playing at safety. And there's a massive difference in the play between those two guys so far this year. And yesterday I was digging into a lot of the numbers when it came to the secondary, corners, safeties, the yards and touchdowns, things like that they have allowed according to PFF. And when we look at Evan Williams, his passer rating allowed when playing this season, 31.6. That is one of the best in the league. It's really high up there. I mean, that's insane. 31.6 passer rating when Evan Williams is playing. Javon Bullard, on the other hand, has a 113.1 passer rating allowed when playing this season. So no doubt, when you go from a guy who's allowing a 31.6 passer rating to a guy who's allowing a 113.1 passer rating, that alone in itself shows you, why there's such a drastic difference when Bullard is out there versus Evan Williams. And once Bullard goes to the safety spot next to Xavier McKinney, Keyshawn Nixon, for the most part, comes to the slot, and then the Packers bring in Eric Stokes and a little bit of Carrington Valentine. And when we look at this past game when Evan Williams went down, Eric Stokes played a total of 24 snaps to Carrington Valentine's 12 snaps. And Eric Stokes, there's a lot of good news coming out this offseason. It sounded like the coaches were pretty excited about Eric Stokes getting back. He dealt with a lot of injuries. He looks really good his first year starting as a rookie. And in the offseason, we're talking about it and saying, okay, if Eric Stokes can get back to how he was playing in his first year as a rookie, then that really bodes well for the Packers and their cornerback room. But so far, Eric Stokes has not been playing great so far this year. He's allowed a 108.5 passer rating. And if we look at Carrington Valentine so far, he's been better than Eric Stokes. He's played a lot less snaps, but he's allowed a 92.4 passer rating, so nearly 20 points better from Carrington Valentine. And if we look at Keyshawn Nixon, just to throw up his numbers as well, so far this season, Keyshawn Nixon has allowed a 111.4 passer rating, which isn't great, slightly worse than Eric Stokes. And I'm going to throw up a ton of numbers here. If you guys want to pause it, you can read through all of them. I'm not going to go through every single one here. But this is all from PFF that I found. And with Keyshawn Nixon, he's been really, really good in man coverage. He has a 39.6 passer rating allowed in man coverage, tied for 8th in the NFL at corner. But he has a 136.3 passer rating allowed in zone on 169 snaps. So it's been night and day for him in man versus in zone. And the Packers play man at, like 29 to 30, low 30 percent of the time, according to PFF. And so they play a lot more zone, considering Keyshawn hasn't been as good in zone. That's why he has an overall passer rating allowed of 111.4. So when Keyshawn Nixon is outside, I don't think it's been that much different than Eric Stokes overall. And it makes me wonder, I sort of feel like when Evan Williams isn't out there and Javon Bullard goes back to safety, Keyshawn goes to the slot, I'm thinking that the Packers should try to put Carrington Valentine out there more, because he's been playing much better than Eric Stokes so far this season. And I'm curious to see if we'll sort of see those snap counts flip as time goes by. And the main thing here is that I think it's a positive that the Packers are so good with Evan Williams on the field. The thing is, when you have players playing at such a high level, of course, when they go down, you're going to feel the effects. I think the Packers would have a similar there'd be a similar effect if Xavier McKinney were to go down. I think an even bigger effect than when Evan Williams went down. And it just shows you how important, players staying healthy is during the season, because if you lose, one of your best safeties, it can really drastically change your defense. And also made me think, how often do defensive coordinators get a bad rap for their defenses playing poorly, when maybe they're one solid other player away from being a top tier defense? Because with Jeff Hafley, sure, maybe he deserves some of the blame when Evan Williams goes down and the Packers defense can't figure it out. But at the same time, it's like, well, it sort of shows you that when you have players who can actually do what they need to do and can cover guys, it makes the defensive coordinator look that much better. And so I think the biggest thing is hopefully Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney can stay healthy the rest of the season, because with them on the field, this Packers defense really looks like they can be one of the top tier units in the NFL. The problem is without Evan Williams, they don't look like they can be a top tier unit, at least in this past week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe they figure it out if Evan Williams misses some more time. Maybe they try to move some guys around, see what could possibly work. But the second that Evan Williams started playing a ton of snaps, this Packers defense, I think, took it to another level. They hold C.J. Stroud to 86 passing yards, and I think that Williams is a massive part of that. But if you guys do want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.